What's up, y'all, man? Today we're going to be checking out Europe is way more powerful than you think. Righty. It's time I get a little inside scoop about Europe and the power of the continent, man. So I don't actually know as much about Europe as I would like, and I think YouTube has helped me learn a lot more. So here's another one that's going to help me. Let's do it.
Going around MAGA circles right now. You've probably seen it. They look at military spending. The US spends $997 billion on defense, while Europe spends $454 billion. And they conclude that Europe is helpless, that Europe needs America, that Trump can do whatever he wants, and that they, us, will just have to take it. This is the logic of someone who has never thought about why America is powerful in the first place. Yes, the United States has the most powerful military on the planet. Nobody disputes that. But here's the question MAGA never asks. Where does that military come from? How does the United States afford 11 aircraft carrier strike groups and 750 military bases around the world? The answer is the economy. The US military is downstream of American economic dominance. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency lets America borrow at rates that no other country can match. The centrality of American finance means capital flows into US Treasury bonds from every corner of the globe. That's what funds the Pentagon. That is what makes the aircraft carriers possible. And here's what the tank counters don't understand. That economic dominance isn't a natural fact. It isn't geography. It's not destiny. It's a system America built after World War II and has spent 80 years maintaining. A system based on one thing above all else: trust. And here is the thing that MAGA hasn't thought about. Europe has real leverage over that trust. We hold $8 trillion in US bonds and equities. They've got a trade bazooka that can shut America.
Wait. Almost twice as much as the rest of the world combined? So Europe is playing a huge role in our success, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is nuts. Okay, that's kind of crazy to see.
That can shut American companies out of 450 million consumers overnight. We'll get to all of that, trust me. But first, we need to truly appreciate why American power is so uniquely fragile, and why Russia can survive isolation and America can't. The world uses dollars because they trust America. They buy treasury bonds because they trust America. They route their transactions through American banks because they trust that the United States will be a reliable, predictable, rule-following anchor of the global system. And here's the cruel irony. The very thing that makes America powerful is the thing that makes it vulnerable. Russia can survive being cut off from the West. They've been preparing for it for a decade. After Crimea, they started building alternative payment systems. They slashed their dollar reserves. They pivoted to China. When the sanctions hit in 2022, it hurt a lot, but their economy was already structured to absorb the blow. Same with China. They've got SIPs, their alternative to SWIFT. They've got 1 billion domestic customers. They're not fully integrated into the Western financial system, which means they're not fully exposed to it. America is the opposite. America didn't build walls against the global economy. America is the global economy. The US isn't strong despite being interconnected with the world. It's strong because of it. Every thread of global finance runs through New York. Every major transaction touches the dollar. That's not a side effect of American power. That's the source of it. Which means that when America acts like a rogue state, when it threatens to tear up treaties, invade allies, seize territories because the president had a tantrum about a medal, it doesn't just damage its reputation, it shakes the foundations of the very system that makes it powerful.
Okay, and I see where he's going with this. You know what I'm saying? A lot of what makes the U.S. so powerful is the trust between the other countries. Obviously, a big part of it is the trust between the countries in Europe, as we can see, because of how much they are helping. It makes you realize that we cannot go around threatening other countries like that, because if they start to pull away, the economy starts to pull away.
As a Cambridge University paper put it, trust is cumulative and relational, but it can also dissipate when the hegemon is seen as unpredictable or self-serving. Russia gets sanctioned and pivots to China. Their bilateral trade hit $240 billion, with China now supplying 38% of Russian imports. America gets isolated and what? Pivots to whom? The world is already oriented around America. There's nowhere to pivot to. The network doesn't have a backup hub. So let's talk about what's actually happening. If Trump lands troops in Greenland, and yes, I know that he almost certainly won't, he's Taco Trump after all, but if he did, first, NATO dies. Instantly. The Danish Prime Minister said it explicitly. If the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including our NATO. Republican Congressman Michael McCall, Chairman Emeritus of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, said an invasion would turn Article 5 on its very head and, in essence, press a war with NATO itself. He said it would abolish NATO as we know it. And he's right. 75 years of collective security gone. The alliance that won the Cold War, that kept the peace in Europe, that gave America forward deployed bases across an entire continent, finished because of Greenland. And who benefits? Like really, who benefits? Russia. The Kremlin is already celebrating. Putin's spokesman said Trump would go down in history if he pulled this off. One of Putin's top aides said it proves the transatlantic alliance is over. This is the gift of Vladimir Putin that he could only have dreamt of. But let's talk economics, because this is where the Europe can't hurt us crowd reveals that they haven't thought about this for 5 minutes. The EU and the US have the most integrated economic relationship in the world. Together, they represent 43% of global GDP and nearly 30% of global trade. In 2024, transatlantic trade hit 1.68 trillion euros. That is not a minor trading partner. That's the foundation of American prosperity. European companies directly employ 5 million Americans. 5 million jobs, more than the entire population of Ireland. European investment in the United States stands at $3.2 trillion, 56% of all foreign investment in America. More than half of every foreign dollar invested in the United States comes from Europe. And
I did not know they was going hand in hand like this together. They like Bonnie and Clyde, man. This is man, Batman Robin or Batman Superman, whatever you want to say. They work together in unison, man. They making this whole thing go around. So we definitely cannot be threatening other countries like this, man, after hearing all of this. And there's more.
It was the other way too. Of course it does. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they pull somewhere between 160 billion and 300 billion in revenue from European customers every year. The Magnificent Seven tech companies earn between 51% and 63% of their revenue from foreign markets, with Europe as a major share. The European single market is 450 million people with money to spend. That's not a market you walk away from. So what does Europe do when America, if America, invades a NATO ally? We have options. Real options. The EU has something called the anti-coercion instrument. It's never been used. They call it the trade bazooka. It allows the EU to shut American companies out of the European single market entirely, restricting trade licenses, blocking access to public procurement, limits on foreign direct investment, sanctions on specific companies and individuals. France is already pushing. Macron called Trump's tariffs unacceptable and demanded a united and coordinated response. And if Europe doesn't go nuclear, they've got a €93 billion retaliatory tariff package sitting on the shelf from last year, specifically designed to hit Republican states. Bourbon, soybeans, aircraft parts that hurt Boeing. Then there's the pharmaceutical angle. The US is the world's largest pharmaceutical importer. Since 2023, pharmaceuticals were the top American import from the EU, $170 billion worth. Europe supplies 25% of all active pharmaceutical ingredients used in American drug manufacturing. 90% of US biotech companies rely on imported components.
Wait, man, and you know what's funny? What's crazy about that? Man, you go to Europe and you don't even have to pay 1/100th of the price. That is insane to think about, man. And then they bringing it over here and then charging us an arm and a leg for it. Wow.
Let's talk about national security. Try explaining to American cancer patients why their chemotherapy drugs aren't arriving because the president wanted to steal an island the size of Mexico for its minerals. Then there's the financial dimension, the one that could really break things. European countries hold $8 trillion in US bonds and equities, almost twice as much as the rest of the world combined. Deutsche Bank's head of FX research has been explicit. Europe has significant leverage over America in global financial markets. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency, that exorbitant privilege that lets America borrow cheaply and run massive deficits, depends on trust. Trust that American institutions are stable. Trust that the rule of law means something. Trust that the United States won't seize an allied territory because the president didn't get an award. When that trust erodes, the dollar erodes. A Federal Reserve paper confirms the link. The loss of the US dollar's reserve currency status may thus presage a large decline in the global power of the US. And this economic advantage allows the US to finance a large and powerful military more easily. The dollar already dropped against the euro when Trump announced these tariffs, which of course he's went back on now already because it's Taco Trump. Meanwhile, gold hit a record high. The markets are watching, and they're starting to price in the possibility that the United States might be run by someone who doesn't understand that the system isn't separate from American power. It is American power. Peter Schiff, the economist, put it bluntly: the dollar's reserve currency status allows us to live beyond our means. Soaring debt, tariffs, and military threats jeopardize that status. When it's lost, economic collapse will follow. So yes, the United States could possibly take Greenland militarily. Of course it could.
I mean, easily,
Denmark
but
has about
it's a horrible
150
decision.
permanent personnel there, and a few hundred European troops doing exercises. It's not a fair fight.
Yeah.
But this isn't about the fight. It's about what comes after. NATO collapses. The EU activates economic retaliation. European investment starts flowing out of America. American companies lose access to 450 million consumers. The dollar wobbles. Borrowing costs rise. The country that spent 75 years building an international order that made it the most powerful nation on earth becomes a pariah. The system that funds the tanks and the carriers and the bases starts to crack. Russia can survive outside the Western system. They've spent a decade building the infrastructure for it. America cannot. America is the Western system, and you can't burn down your own house to spite your own neighbours. The MAGA crowd looks at military spending and thinks, that's power. But military spending is an output. The input is economic centrality, global trust, and the willingness of the world to keep buying American debt and routing their money through American banks. Trump is threatening to torture all of that. He has already done irreparable damage. For an island the US already has military access to. All because he didn't get a medal. Because no one in power has any fucking balls. This isn't strength. This is the geopolitical equivalent of a billionaire burning his company to the ground because someone didn't clap hard enough at his speech. There are, however, two winners if Trump keeps going the way that he's going. Do you know who they are? Russia.
Russia is one.
And China.
Yep. Oh boy. Oh man. Yeah, things getting crazy, man. Getting shaky. I don't see it happening, man. I don't see him actually going through with that, but I will say, man, it is a major threat to make, and it would destroy a lot. And this video gave me a much bigger perspective on how much damage it really would do. And wowzer. I knew Europe had a big impact, but man, this really put into perspective how big of a role Europe plays in our economics. So tell me what you guys are thinking, man. How are you guys feeling about this? There will be more on the way. If you got some other suggestions or videos y'all want me to check out, let me know in the comments. As always, I love y'all. Peace.